From your Startup screen, click on New Family. Scroll down in the family list until you find Generic Model. I'm working with the metric version in this instance. We may as well dive in and get our hands really dirty from the outset. Let's take a look at what we have on the screen. We have two reference planes, and they're both pinned. These reference planes have names. You can see them when they're selected. Center, front and back. Center, left and right. So it kind of makes sense. Over this side is the left, and over on the other side of the screen is the right. If we select the horizontal reference plane, we have a front at the bottom and a back at the top. So I said this was all about planning. And if I had planned it, I would currently be sketching something on my family development form. Something along the lines of, there's my reference planes for plan, and front, and left. Here's the objects that I want to create in plan, in front elevation, and left. As you can see, it's a very rough sketch, but it's a sketch nonetheless. Once I've done this, I can then add in my reference planes that I want to create for my family that are going to control the dimensions. And those reference planes will of course extend all the way through the family. So let's transpose what we had in our sketch to something on screen. From the Create tab, click on Reference Plane and sketch those same reference planes that we had in our sketched plan. You can see here that I'm not being very accurate with their placement right now, because we're going to use some dimensions to sort out the placement. Now that we've created the reference planes, click on Modify, go to the Annotate tab, and we're going to start dimensioning this. The first thing to do here is to put some equality dimensions in. These equality dimensions are going to make sure that the family flexes through the center point. If you wanted your family to flex and grow along the origin, then that's fine. But as long as you're consistent with these things, you shouldn't have any real issues. Now let's put some overall dimensions. Now we have some dimensions in place. We want to be able to make this shrink and grow according to parameters that we set. Let's take a look at the family types. In the Family Types dialog box, we have parameters that are already associated with this family. And as you can see right now, we don't have any. So what we can do is add a parameter. We'll give this a name. Diffuser width. Its discipline is going to be HVAC, and we're looking at duct size as a type of parameter. Click on OK. Add again, diffuser depth. And we'll go through the same process. But if I add a dimension to these, nothing currently happens with my reference planes. So I've got to try and transpose those parameters onto these dimensions. If I select one of the dimensions, from the options bar, I can click on Label and change this to diffuser width. I can do the same for the diffuser depth. Let's go back to the family types and add two more parameters. We'll call these neck width and neck depth. And give those a dimension. Now all we need to do is associate these dimensions with that label. Finally, I'll go to the front view, as I want to place 2 more reference planes in here. Also notice that we can see the reference planes that we created in plan. And at some point it's a good idea to give these names, as if I select the central one, notice how it tells me that this is the centre left right. If we look at the plan, we've still got it selected. So it would make sense to have a left reference plane and a right reference plane. Click on your Create tab, click on Reference Plane, and we'll put 2 more reference planes in. Dimension these from the Annotate tab as 2 separate dimensions, and we'll give them a label. We don't have to go to family types. If I just want to define this as a length and not a duct size, what I can do is select the dimension, click on Label just as I did before, but add a parameter. And let's call this Diffuser Height. And do the same with the dimension above. And we'll call this one Neck Height. And click on OK. We now have the framework and the initial planning for our family completed.